Now this placard, its primary use is for emergency responders, and you would see this on the outside of buildings so that when, say, the fire department arrives on site for responding to a call, they're going to want to know what the hazards are at that building when they first get there. And so this diamond placard allows them just to have a quick reference source to get a real fast, quick, what are the hazards if I walk into this building? And it's communicating that in a couple different ways. One, through the colors of the diamond placard. The blue represents a health hazard, the red is a flammability hazard, the yellow is a reactivity hazard, and finally the white represents a special hazard. And then for each of those hazards, we have a rating between 0 and 4. 0 meaning no hazard, and 4 meaning it has a very extreme hazard within that category. So, and for each of those, we have different criteria for determining what number should go there. And now this is where the NFPA Diamond Placard can get a little subjective depending on who's giving the number rating. So, for example, when we look at the health hazard, it's not concrete as far as what constitutes a 3 versus a 1 versus a 2 health hazard. Basically, the way that they communicate that is something with a 1 or 2 is slightly hazardous to moderately hazardous to your health, whereas a 3 is severely hazardous and a 4 is borderline deadly type hazardous. So you can tell that as far as what's severe versus what is more severe is going to be relatively subjective. Whereas the flammability hazard, it's pretty concrete and it's a very quantitative type measure. Where we're looking at the flammability of a substance and the flash point of a substance. So something with a higher flash point would have a lower rating versus something with a lower flash point. For example, gasoline would have a rating of about a 3 or a 4 on the flammability scale. Your propane, incidentally, at your facilities, because propane is considered a flammable gas, it would actually warrant a flammability rating on the NFPA Diamond Placard of a 4, which is the maximum flammability rating. Your reactivity ratings, again, these are a little bit more subjective, kind of like when we're looking at the health hazards, and it's just, is something stable at ambient temperature or pressure, how it will react, will it detonate? This is what you see on the reactivity side. And then finally, your white hazard or your special hazard, you're looking at a specific symbol here that represents the hazard associated with the product or the chemical that's in use. And so the one that's shown on your slide there is a W with a line through it. That represents that the product reacts with water. So when you're thinking about emergency responders arriving on site, they would want to know if they're going to put out a fire if it has chemicals that react with water or not. So that's what that symbol says. Other common symbols that you might see are, for example, for oxidizers, you would see OXY. If it's a corrosive material, you might see a COR. Now, as I mentioned, this is primarily used for first responders when they arrive on site, and it would be on the outside of your building. However, what we're talking about is, well, what does that have to do with your chemicals? Well, a lot of manufacturers are utilizing this NFPA Diamond Placard system on their actual chemical containers to communicate the hazards associated with the chemicals that you may be using. So you might see on actual label that you're using one of these symbols, and so now you know what the symbols mean.